Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. My name is Manish Purohit and I work with Authors Upfront. Today we have gathered to release Shantanu Guhare's book, The Target. I would thank Mr. Suhail Seth and Mr. Anup Bose, to agree to be a part of this discussion. Mr. Bose is an eminent lawyer from the Supreme Court of India. Mr. Suhail Seth is the noted columnist, author, and social commentator. I would now request all three of them to formally unveil the book. A brief introduction about Shantanu. Shantanu is a water-trained journalist with over 3 decades of experience in investigative business and human interest news features. May I now request Shantanu to introduce the book to the audience.
Thank you, Manish. Very kind of you to agree to publish the book called The India Legal, and its editor, very powerful, Indrajit Badwar, asked me that if I could take a look at this payment crisis haunting the National Spot Exchange, or NSCL, a subsidiary of Financial Technologies, a company once considered among the finest in India and also across the globe. And once I finished my assignment, we put it on the cover. And I felt the need to explore beyond the 8 pages of the cover. And I signed up with a top publishing firm almost instantly. A book was planned and I started my work. Almost a year and a half passed and I had gone through loads of documentary evidence, which are actually in the public domain, and saw the other side of the coin and realized the vicious way Shah was a genuine and a genius innovator, always been considered ahead of his time. I mean, in some ways, he could be also like the character of John Galt in Ayn Rand's famous book, because he built up some really world-class, new generation regulated financial institutions by challenging some monopolies and demonstrating excellence. But ironically, he was shunted out of business because he was seen as a challenger and his empire was considered a threat by many. I think there was a vicious plan to destruct Shah. He was grievously wronged. I have written that in my book.
I started investigating the NSCL case and I went deeper into it, and I slowly realized how systematically one after another institutions which were ideal examples of Make in India were slowly dismantled and given away at throwaway prices.
Here you had a man, as the book will identify with facts, who created an enterprise. It takes forever to set up an exchange. He created 10 world-class exchanges, and suddenly the business goes for a toss. I think this is a book which tells you about the facetiousness with which industry is treated, and with which industry allows itself to be treated by.
It's important for books like this to be written. Why should people not be exposed to the truth, which is investigated, which is credible, and which is supported by facts, not by fiction? Therefore, I think it is not just a timely book, it's a relevant book.
Shantanu's incessantly stimulating book has not come a day too late, as the subject it targets is of current topical interest, which is steadily occupying the minds, time and attention of lawyers, judges, jurists, intellectuals and others throughout the length and breadth of India and even beyond its shores. The amalgamation of NSCL with FTIL and the supersession of FTIL's board will have a powerful impact on investments into India and the Indian economy as a whole. At the same time, the proposed supersession of FTIL's board is most likely to create chaos and confusion in India's corporate landscape and would open a floodgate of unnecessary litigation. This would erode the perception of ease of doing business in India to the serious prejudice and detriment of the Indian economy.
Shantanu mentioned about Jignesh Shah, an outstanding brain who created history in several areas. We all remember easily MCX as the pioneering job of Jignesh Shah. Nobody heard of commodities exchange in those days. Starting from that, he developed nearly a dozen exchanges for financial services. It's an outstanding, absolutely outstanding work, and starting from scratch. I think of the parallel of our nation not very enthusiastic or supportive of outstanding geniuses in different walks of life. How come we are not respecting such talent? How come the nation went with a single-minded, with the P. Chidambaram and a couple of senior bureaucrats? How did they relentlessly work to tarnish its name?
The NSCL crisis would not have hurt so many investors had the government not banned trading overnight. When you stop a market, you have a payment crisis. When you have a payment crisis, people lose money. A commodities market that took several decades to build was destroyed almost overnight. As a result, the farmers lost and the country lost. You knew where the money went. The police identified the parties to whom the money went. But the money was not recovered, and not a single investor got his money, except those small investors to whom Jignesh Shah himself paid off the money. Work out a way to make an exit so that valuations are not destroyed. When you destroy a person and you destroy value, the man suffers, yes. Investor suffers, yes. But most of all, it's a country that suffers. You talk of Make in India, at the same time you destroy valuations for India. That is not the way to go ahead. A company that could be sold at 10 times or 20 times or even 100 times its value was brought down crashing till it had no valuation in the markets at all. You can't build a brand if you are ready to destroy it. Governments must learn to preserve values in brands to make sure that brand India does not suffer. And the tragedy of the story is that brand India suffered the most. Shantanu has done a marvelous job in explaining how brand India was destroyed one by one by whimsical, capricious decisions taken by individuals disregardful of long-standing policies. When whim overtakes policy, you have a scenario of destruction.
It is indeed a courageous book. This is a very intriguing story that he has very painstakingly investigated. And according to him, the reason for this whole investigation, successive investigations, interrogations, demolition of companies has been at the behest of some very powerful people.
I just want to say that I met a lot of young people in Hyderabad, in Chennai, mostly in these two cities, and they had startups. They were, Jignesh Shah, if I may say so. Almost all of them, either they were destroyed in India, that is, they went bankrupt or something, they had worked for some company, they sold their brains, as Suhail so elegantly said, to some large company, mostly an American company, and they got a good income out of that and they could recover from their financial collapse. Or they went to Singapore or to San Jose and they did extremely well. They became millionaires. They could not become millionaires in India. That I can tell you, I haven't met a single case. I'm talking of youngsters, for example, who have got inventions which have been very helpful in the defense field. Why this book is important is, it's not just one Jignesh Shah. There are 100,000 Jignesh Shah.
In India, we are still not in a regime where, if somebody's reputation gets sullied and soiled, you go and file cases and you go after all the people who are responsible for what wrong they've done as yet. But I think we need to come there. And I think people need to set examples. And possibly the protagonist of this entire book is a classic example who must take that up.
There's a fascinating story, his rise and his success. But he paid a price for his success, for being so successful.